Meeting to order. First thing is to act on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda?
Just want to juggle some things around. You want to move?
Yeah, we'll juggle things around, but.
Alright. Just gonna move a few items up higher.
Okay.
For,
Yeah.
so I make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
Yeah, I second that. With the juggling.
Aye.
Aye. With juggling.
Back in the minutes of the June 10 meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does anybody have anything that's not on the agenda?
Does anybody need an agenda? There's one right here. There's no comment on anything that's not on the agenda?
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's number 4, right?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
All right, this is, being a cemetery commissioner for 3 years, I've been trying to get the town to fix that entrance to the Middletown Cemetery. Now, the first time I asked, the town said they couldn't do it to find a contractor. Okay? The year they had to fix the bridge. So that kind of put that kibosh to that job. So I said, I will do it next year. Well, God destroyed the roads in town, so you couldn't put anything into that. So here we are, the town out, spending a lot of money fixing up the sides of the roads and stuff. So I wanted to know if they might be able to fix it themselves, or do I have to put that out to a contractor? I already got one verbal, but that was last year. And of course, I don't want to mention their name because I got somebody else looking at it. But you got to offer to the town that's seen as their property. And we already discussed fixing that because it's an unsafe entrance to that cemetery, that it gets fixed. So I want to know if the selectmen are going to ask the highway department if they can do it, or you want me to go to get a contractor to fix it.
The way I understand it, and with no disrespect, but you couldn't just hire a contractor to fix it without going through the select board because you need funding for
We
that.
already discussed this 2 years ago, long
Well, we
before
may
you
have
people were here.
Well, that's
It may have been discussed, but there's no funding for it. So it has to be funded.
Well, I know I have to have at least 2 people, make a bid and bring it to the town.
So isn't it town property? Why wouldn't
Yes.
maybe Charlie could speak to that? Because if it's town property, it seems like a no-brainer that we would fix it so it's safe.
I think, like Hank said, we had discussed it with the prior board.
okay.
We were just too busy to do it, so I think he had a contractor in mind that he was going to speak to, and then that turned into 2 contractors in mind, and they were both supposed to look at it. I don't know if I ever heard from Hank for sure if they had both given a price or at least put eyes on it. I don't know how that did turn out. But like he said, every year it's just had something thrown into the mix. So yeah, it has not been high on our priority list.
And Hank, I apologize because when you started talking about this, and like you just said, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't remember hearing about this at all. And it was because before at least 4 of us was in here. Okay.
The board changed.
So Charlie, is it something that you think could get done like through you guys or now? Like more likely?
If this year stays the way it is right now, probably something we could do.
And what is it exactly that needs to be done?
Well,
Some culvert work and widen out the entrance to the
Yeah.
middle
It,
town
it's
cemetery.
it's not.
he's looked at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Everybody's looked at it.
That's what he said to us.
And there's no sense in the culvert underneath the road handles half of that road going up to the mountain.
Oh yeah.
So it depends on how God treats it, and it's not big enough tool,
Right.
culvert. So there's no sense in fixing the top until you fix the bottom. And Charlie and I, we all discussed it and said that the town would supply the culvert, and we had the contractor the rest of it because they were busy.
Right,
And of course, then the High Bridge been waiting for how many
Right,
years?
to do that.
So they get to fix that, and that's
then
on the upper
flood,
side.
right.
Yeah. So okay, well, we could put this on call. So we'll fix it next year. Well, next year, God came along and destroyed the town roads,
Right.
so you can't come to the town and ask them to put anything extra into that. So things look like they're rolling pretty good this year. So I says I'd bring it to you guys and see which way you wanted to go. I says, if you want me to go find a contractor, or maybe Charlie's got all the equipment, if he could find a time to fix it, sometime between now and hell freezes over, and because it's town property.
Yeah.
And we already took care of the trees, and you don't get any money for the cemetery department. $3,000.
Yeah.
That Billy takes care of mowing the grass.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they got the trees taken care of, and some of those trees are on the town property. So I says, I don't mind doing that because the tree's doesn't give a shit which way it falls. It could fall in the cemetery and break a headstone. So you
Right.
got to take care of that. Got to protect that.
Okay.
And so he didn't mind scraping up the money for that. But now this little deal, town's going to have to pay for it anyway because I haven't got the money,
Right.
and it's your property. And it's very dangerous for somebody to slide off of that and go in that. That's got to be 10-foot ditch there.
Well, Charlie has said that he'll take a look at it. So I would make a motion to have Charlie take a look at it, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
And,
To fix it.
see.
Yeah, I
Well,
second it.
And just to look at it and see. Because also we have to think about what we have for funding. That comes into play. So I say the first step would have Charlie take a
Yeah.
look at it
I agree.
and go from there.
It's a beautiful cemetery. If you don't have like a SUV or something, you have a car like me, you really can't just.
Well, it's
It's like a dip.
It's got the oldest stones in
Yeah,
town.
you can't
And
even
it's,
get off the road really.
And it's you're not going to put any cadavers in there. It's strictly it's a rock pile. Can you imagine if French words were spoken of those people put those bodies in that hole with all that between the rocks?
Oh.
That must have been something. So Charlie and I discussed it, and I think the safest thing to do, you don't want to see guardrails and just put some big rocks on each side so it looks like the rest of the rocks that are up there. And Charlie and I agreed on it but it's when we first came up with this, those guys were pretty busy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after all these years, we finally got the High Bridge fixed. They did a marvelous job on that, so that backed it up. I said, we'll wait till next year. And then, you know what
flood,
happened
yeah.
last year. You can't come to the town and ask them for any money. So it says, we'll wait till this year. So
Here you are.
make this.
So
I
I make a motion then, Charlie, that you get with Hank, like not in the next 6 months or when hell's freezing over, but sometime sooner than that, to figure out what this would
Just
look
take a look
like
at
and
it,
then
see what you
kind of
think.
get it back to us and see what we can do. That's my motion.
Yeah, I second that.
Oh, good.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Good things come to those who wait.
That's right. Hank.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
thank you for taking care of
Yes,
it.
thank you.
Yes.
And thank you, Charlie.
Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah,
Charlie.
thank you.
so we gotta skip down to number 7 and do the sand bids next.
Let's get down to 7. Okay.
Oh, you have
Oh, sure.
Very brief.
Yep, that's okay.
My name is Chris Morrow. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'll be running in the fall to represent Andover and Weston Londonderry Wing Hall in the State House. So I'm not going to take up any time here. I just wanted to put a face to a name, and I'm listening to what residents of the 4 towns are interested in getting or not getting from the state. And so I'll be putting out a website and my emails tomorrow for Vermont gmail.com. So I'm on the select board in Weston, so I know you guys have a full evening, so I won't say anything else, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for coming, and hopefully you'll come back and talk more in the course of your.
Yeah, I'm happy to come.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Sand bits.
You want me to read them or you got it?
Go ahead.
Oh, so there is one from Crown Point for 2,000 yards for $29.65 a yard. Must be able to accept dump trailers for delivery, it says. This is for purchase and delivery, and then the option 2 is the town purchases sand directly from Pike and Crown Point delivers, and the delivery charge is $14.50 a yard. And the total, they've got the totals there. That's $29,000. That's just for hauling.
That's less than the bid we.
There are 4 more, so I get.
Great.
So that's all of them are for 2,000 yards. This is from Hunter Excavating. $24.75 per yard. And for 2,000 yards, that is $49,500. Keep in mind the budget was for $45,000.
Delivered or not?
The price they offer.
Their price is the same on both lines. My apologies.
Right.
Yeah, this was delivered. And they also wrote a note that additional sand is available. River Bend, where we got the sand from last year, correct? That was.
How did you like that sand?
It was good. I'll touch on that when you make it through all the bids. Just some information.
Okay.
Picked up is $16 a yard. Delivered to the town garage is $38 per yard. And then JP Trucking of Fells Falls, $14 a yard. Picked up in Allstead, $31 a yard delivered.
So 31?
Just have to make it.
And is that
You
also
remember-
for 2,000 yards?
Everything was
Everything
for 2,000, correct. And I believe that is the original bid, correct? From that
It is,
one.
yeah. We didn't-
That is the original bid. They just resubmitted it.
And then, other than Hunter, did any of the others say whether or not they had more sand, or Charlie, would you know? If
River
they,
Bend,
They're correct. It's at the bottom. My apologies. It wasn't in the same spot. Riverbend says there's more. The others do not specify.
Hunter did say.
Hunter's I said. Yeah, he has additional sand, but the one from Allstead does not specify.
I correct that
But also Crown Points does not specify on whether there's more or not. Slight assumption that if it's coming from that pit, there would be more because they're hauling from Pike. Are they open in the winter or not?
I believe so.
I think so, but that's just an assumption for us.
So, can we just, you have the numbers in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to reread one of them.
Delivered. Who's giving us the best bid delivered?
What I wanted to speak on was when I talked to River Bend, he said he was looking at a new pit in Vernon and wouldn't have any sand in Rockingham.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his bid says Rockingham, so I need to confirm if it's the same sand or if it's different sand being trucked there, because I wouldn't want to go with them being low bidder and have it be a complete different product without putting my eyes on it. So I'd like to look at, you guys can hold off on making decision, I'd like to look at some of the sand.
So you're telling us, because our last meeting, I don't think you were here, we talked about that we need to be looking at delivered prices.
We just were.
Are you telling us now that you can pick it up, that we don't need to, that we should be looking and expecting that you would be able to pick it up?
I think he's more worried about the geography of where the sand is.
Yeah,
Right.
Like, if it was at their place in Rockingham.
To go to Allston.
Right.
No, we figured that out to be over 30 days of one guy.
Yeah.
30 work days, not a month. 30 work days of a guy in a 10-wheeler. And that's just not feasible.
And I understand the distance is a part of that, but what I'm asking, are we looking at delivery fees or this, or are we looking at?
With the
Pick it up
budgeted
ourselves.
45,000, when you get into like Riverbend's and JP's price, you're up to $76,000 by the time it's delivered. So that's blowing that budget right out of the water. So that's kind of why we.
Try to stay close to budget. We're gonna have to help you.
I agree. I would like to table it if possible until Charlie can go.
Yeah, I think we need a recommendation from Charlie
I
about the
don't see
quality
any-
of the sand.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
because
absolutely.
the
I don't see
price
anybody's
doesn't mean that much.
decision.
And did we not get a price from Hunter for picking it up ourselves, hauling it ourselves?
Correct. It's only, and that pit I believe is in
The
Clarendon.
same cost for pickup or delivery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And okay, well,
All right, well, I make a motion that we table this until Charlie can get his eyes on the sand and then come back and let us know, and then we'll figure it out.
Yep, I second that.
keep it on the agenda.
Yep.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the in-between. Here, Jason,
Oh, we're there.
we're there.
How you doing?
So a couple familiar faces and some not so familiar. I'm Jason. This is Brigitte. We bought the old Rowells and is now the in-between. And as we're getting closer to opening, we just wanted to kind of come down, say hello, introduce ourselves, and kind of tell you where we want to head in the future, how we want to involve the town in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Brigitte. I'm Jason, and we brought our friends Ed and Mary. We're actually going to be reaching out for a grant in the next year, and I believe we have. Where do we have to go to that?
Windsor County.
Yeah. So, but we would love to kind of pass on what we want to do. But I'm sure you're as familiar with the building as we are, if not more so. Some of you have spent blood and sweat in there, like,
Right.
there's plenty of stories. As we progress and we get the inn and restaurant open, we also want to head back into what was the antique shop, and we want to open that up to a more community space. Adding a defib and an emergency,
Nice.
area for community and shelter, whatever's needed, because we're kind of in between everything. Like, we are on a main road. It's easy to access, a lot easier than some of the other areas around here. And if we can get that open and, get these grants, I think we just want to offer a safe space. We can touch a little more on that, and if you guys have any questions about where we're headed and what we're trying to do.
Wait, what kind of grants? I'm sorry, I don't think I followed you.
I can give you some info.
And welcome. I
so-
mean,
yeah.
it's exciting that you have big plans.
Yeah, well, it's the Paul Broom is what we're reaching out for. I don't know if you know.
The what?
The
Paul Broom
Broom grant.
Oh, no, I'm not familiar with it.
Miss Bellows Falls Diner was the.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I've read a lot about that.
Yeah, so this will kind of give you like a general.
Separated.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in that we do have a small example of what we plan on doing. So I can give you.
What is the Paul Broom grant?
It's a for-profit grant that helps historical renovation of businesses in rural communities. And if we do get that grant, I believe it's that 5% goes to these.
It's the desirable rate is 5% to the grantee. To the grantor. Let me explain. The Paul Broom is a National Park Service grant, and it's specifically, as Jason said, designed for communities, rural communities, and to spur economic development while also doing historical preservation. So it really fits neatly into the plans that these guys have for the inn. The 5%, there's an overhead, an administrative overhead that can be offered to the grant recipient. The inn itself cannot receive the grant. It has to go to either a tribe or some kind of local government. And I looked on the list of approved local governments here in Vermont, and Windsor County is an approved grant recipient. They would then provide a sub-grant to the inn, keeping up to 5% for administrative overhead for their piece of activity that they would have to manage. So that's kind of what it's for.
Yeah.
1950. So
Robin and I both have grandparents and great grandparents who lived there and were born there. So
And that's what we're trying to collect all those stories.
Yes.
Yeah, we want all of that. And that's what we want to do is we also want to make it a little more ADA compliant so that anyone can kind of get in. It is,
Without
Without-
too much of the history.
And what's the capacity for the zoning there? I mean, how many
25.
people?
It's 25.
but with that grant, we would ask, we want to dig it, like we want to get into that septic and we would like to make it, we'd like to add Tesla walls so there's always electricity there. We'd like to, add a bathroom downstairs in that area that has showers and stuff for community. If, who knows? We never know,
Natural disaster.
disasters.
Parking.
Everything,
That
yeah,
comes into
parking,
play.
we need to
Because
grade.
there's no parking
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
So who do you go through? I mean,
And speaking
I
of that, across the street, when we butt up to the cemetery, if you guys need to encroach, please do. It's open to it. If you, need any of that to make it a safer zone to get up, don't even hesitate.
isn't that a fire? But don't you go through the fire marshal for occupancy?
Yes,
Yes.
but the one who really regulates it is water. Because septic
right,
is really what will hold us back. We want to be as transparent and we want to be as compliant with everyone.
yeah.
Everything that we can and have been able to so far get up to code. We've been.
And so the sort of building on the back, so the building off the bar,
Yes.
you're wanting to take that away and then rebuild something.
No. Yeah, the firewood shed.
So would you be keeping the kitchen and the bar area
Yes,
or no?
correct. That's completely separate from this unit that we would like to open up. We have, in addition to what it is, it would just be for us. It's a great rentable space for weddings, for birthday parties, for bigger people that just want to rent a space. But for the community, we want to have a bathroom in there and with showers and a small extra kitchen and the accessibility to the Tesla walls and so that if and when we have another emergency, it's a safe place for people to meet up, have electricity, charge their stuff, take a shower, and feel safe.
Right. Yeah.
These are all, to me, I hear what you're saying. Aren't these all zoning issues?
Well, we're all
zoning board?
no, that's all. We won't be changing any of the external property. So for zoning, that would be like if we tore it down and wanted to build something that's not on its footprint, then we have to go through zoning. And we'll be dotting all those I's and T's as we get there. Right now, we're patching, painting, repairing, and getting everything, ready to open.
I live on Middletown Road also, and I wanted to welcome you. I think it's really wonderful, and your plans sound great. I'm just really not to be a wet, cold blanket, but I'm confused about. It sounds like a wonderful private quest that you're setting up. I'm confused as to what kind of public role we. Yeah, because we do have like a town hall that is like an emergency services, and it's always wonderful to know where other safe houses might be.
Try getting over this.
But I just like my head's a little spinning as to what like kind of imprimatur or whatever that you might ask from the select board. Okay.
We're not going to ask for anything but support and you're like, hey, you guys are doing that. We would like to see this. Hey, is there a chance that, you guys would be open to this? Or we would like to hold a yearly events there, or those things. That's why we're here. We're opening up our doors to you. We're, not asking for anything.
Yeah, sounds great. I'll take a walk down.
Sorry, it took us 6 months to get here, but
yeah, we're not going to slide in that. And can you put on the agenda this funding for?
So ultimately, too, when you're opening, are you going to be doing? Is it going to be like the rooms will be for rent, or?
Yep.
And then is the restaurant going to be sort of open to the public, or
Absolutely.
Is it going to be situational, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, we want people in there 6, if not 7 days a week. What we hear mostly is there's nowhere for me to go eat. There's nothing for me to do. I can't stop by and grab a beer after work. There's nothing,
Right.
That's what we are.
on Monday.
Yes. Like, every day. We want people to come through, feel comfortable, have a place to kick back.
And have a place that, for kids, I want it, to have a positive environment,
Yes.
for parents to feel like, oh yeah, you can meet up with your friends here. We'll go have, some French fries and a soda pop. We go,
Sit by
play
the
some
river.
board games and then.
Yeah.
Wear some horseshoes,
Yeah, well, I certainly wish you well. I know a wonderful story about some people up at the cemetery that met Rosen. They're at the cemetery now. I'll tell you about it sometime.
Yeah, please,
Yes, please.
please. And we're collecting those stories, and like I said, we want to have that historical vibe. We want people to come just that are driving by, go, I've read about that. I've heard this.
Yeah, it's a very historic place.
Yeah, and we, Okemo magazine had just reached out, their Chamber of Commerce, because they are doing a big stagecoach story, and they have like this 4-page thing that they want to do. So we'll be reaching out and doing, getting as many outsiders to come in and say hi and spend some money as long, and keeping locals happy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, any questions, feel free. Please stop by, be nosy, like come in, peek around, like knock on the door and say, "Can I look around? I want to see what you guys are doing." Feel free.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Get down to number 6 now and do the whole.
Finally, huh? You guys have been here for a while.
My name's Joe Houghton. This is my wife, Chris Houghton. We are the homeowners on 977 Simonsville Road, Route 11. The house where God hasn't been too kind to us in the last 18 years with all the storms that we've had, and the river's about to take our garage and the bridge and utility pole, etc. So I would just like to start off by thanking you, Chris. We had some conversations with the select board for putting this on the agenda so that we had an opportunity to come here and let you know who we are and where we're coming from and the journey that we've been on. And I thought my wife is better at keeping things on point here because we don't want to have a lengthy meeting. So my wife is just going to talk through some points that we worked on.
I guess, the first thing I wanted to say is, we bought this house in 2006, April of 2006. He called it a diamond in the rough. I could only see the rough. I couldn't see the diamond. And we bought the house because of the garage and because of its location, because we snowmobile, and it was a great place to house the snowmobiles. And before the river eroded away, there was a nice, easy way to go up through a logging path and past. I heard Ken is here, our neighbor's here to support us, over his property to get to the vast trails. And that was great until Irene came along. And with Irene coming along, it really just started deteriorating. We've had 3 100-year storms in 18 years that we've owned the house. Actually, in 12 years, if you're taking from 2011 to last year's flooding. And all this time, we've tried to reach out to various agencies. Our desire, our total desire, was that someone would come in and build up the bend.
Armor up the bend.
Armor up the bend. And, it came down to one point in time, we were told that we could do that. We could apply for a permit to do it. And we could do a riprap wall. The cost was going to be just cost prohibitive. It was going to cost more to do that than the house was worth. So we just kept saying, but don't you want to do something to secure the bridge? And with each storm, they've kind of gone in and rechanneled the river a little bit, but the next storm comes along and whatever they did, those rocks are all gone because it wasn't a permanent solution. And Mark Pickering from V-Trans told us they can only do 25 feet back from the bridge, but the problem is well beyond 25 feet back from the bridge. And when the storms go through, we have pictures from last summer, the flooding that happened in July. I mean, it was really starting to undermine the bridge at that point in time. We stopped at the property before we came here. We stopped at the property before we came here. It's actually not only undermining the garage, but it's starting to undermine a utility pole that's there. If I pulled that one up, it's not printed. It would show you that the guide wire is it's deteriorating where the guide wire is. And so with all of our work, going through like I said, we had the storm in 2011. We had another storm in 2017 that did a lot of damage to it. There was some rechanneling that was done, maybe a little rechanneling and process with the redecking that was done in 2015. But all of it has really been like temporary, and doesn't do anything.
I was watching.
I know everyone's going to look at that first one and say, why did she put this in here? The point to that was, it's the only picture I had that shows you when we bought that property, we not only had that deck that right now is very close to going in, you'll see it, but there was a pool. There was an 18-foot pool, there was a solar cover, and there was landscaping. All of that's gone. You'll see the deck there, but everything else is gone. I mean, that's how much property, we've lost during this period of time, despite, like I said, continually reaching out and trying to talk to different agencies to have something done with the river. I mean, that's all we've been asking. We want something done with the river. Well, the solution that has come to us, or the only viable solution for us, is through ARPA funds that the state has, and because of the waterway being involved, they have approved to allocate ARPA funds to buy the property from us. And I know I listened to video of the last meeting. We tried to call in, and we were just having problems getting onto the Zoom. But I know, there's concern that it's a house. We're selling the house. Unfortunately, that's the only way that's the only way they can buy the property. And we, quite frankly, can't put a garage anywhere else on the property, because one of the things that may sooner or later be a problem if it keeps deteriorating is up on the hill between the house and the river is our septic system, and it's a mound system. So, at some point in time, who knows, we could even lose the septic system because of the deterioration that's going through.
Can I just ask you a question? Because I really sympathize with you. I can't imagine having your property have happen. But I'm just like, you don't have to tell us the details of the funds, but is FEMA or the ARPA money, is that more than it would sell for if you just sold it? Because most people
sell it. We talked to Jeff Gordon, and he said what he would pay us is like $20,000 less than we paid for the house.
But is it possible to go on the open market, real estate market, and just sell it?
But it's not. No one's going to pay what we paid for it because they can't keep the garage.
But is the FEMA doesn't really pay a lot of money.
They're talking about ARPA funds.
The ARPA funds would
I
be,
understand, are COVID-related funds.
Oh,
correct.
Yeah,
Right, because ARPA was the American Rescue Plan Act that came
for
out.
COVID, not for
But
But it has water. It does cover water, and that's the section under which the state has approved it. Is because it is
I've had
water
numerous,
infrastructure.
Steve Libby, and you've talked, Chris, to Steve Libby, and we've talked a lot about it and where the funding comes from, and this bucket of money that has already been vetted by the state, by all the agencies, and they've approved and signed off on it, was the only bucket that was available to us, and we can't relocate the garage. There's not enough land there because of the hill, because of the river continuing to erode. So all the different agencies that we went to, nobody could help us but this one option. And, like Chris had said, our first choice is not to leave there. We want the house. We want the garage. Ultimately, what we wanted is for the state to come in and deal with the common threat, the common interest that we all have here is, the bridge, Route 11, and, our garage. But, the common interest is that, something needs to be done to the approachway of the bridge, because right now everything is eroded. And, I have a video. That last storm, I was at the house emptying my garage out, and I can show you the video after. And the river was going right into the wing wall, took the whole, supports out, and it was starting to undermine at the bridge.
And that is a state bridge.
Right.
So have you gone to the state
Yes.
and talked to them? Because
We did.
we don't have any control over the state bridge.
No, you don't. And I've talked to Mark Pickering, and you've talked to his boss, and their only concern is 12 or 15 feet from the bridge. All right. I talked to Todd Jensen, who's a river engineer, and then of course his answer before the last storm was that there was no plans to do anything. So, the question or the concern here is, and it should be a concern of the select board and the town, is it's not a matter of is it going to happen. It's when is it going to happen? Because the next 5-inch storm that we have, and I'm not an expert in it, but I've been talking to all these folks in the state, and the next 5 or 6 inch storm, there's nothing left there to erode. It's going to start going right at the bridge, and it's going to undermine Route 11, and then it's going to do something to the bridge. All right, that's a given. And what we're trying to do is to work together and have a good partnership to get your help to develop a plan, to work with the state. And instead of, this money going to buy us out and us to go away, of doing something else. My understanding is that the state would be in a better position to do something about the problem if the town owned the property. All right. Because the state doesn't want to come into the private landowner and make improvements, but really those improvements are needed to protect the road and to protect the bridge. So this is the only bucket and the only option that we had available to us. And, we were looking for your support on it. And I apologize that we were not at this meeting weeks ago when it was discussed, because my understanding is that it was a done deal and there was no issues and there was no concerns, and the town was gonna accept it and manage the process, and we were gonna move forward. So I had no indications from anybody, from the board, from the state, that this was gonna be an issue. So that's kind of like why we're here now, and we wanted to talk to you about it and get your support, because if nothing is done, this is a common problem. And unless you can come up with a better way to deal with this, because when the garage goes into the river, then the question is what's the plan? Can we be proactive, or do we need to be reactive? And how can we work together to get with the proper state agencies to take a look at this and to talk about it? Because I know the district V-Trans, and Chris had said they had no plans of doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the real question is that why can't we take this up at a higher level, V-Trans headquarters, and have them look at it at the level, that of the folks that signed off on this grant, that made these decisions that, everything is okay. And come up with a better solution, a better common solution. That's all we're asking for, and we need your help to get there.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused still. So my understanding is that so you don't feel that we should be saying to ourselves, well, that was for COVID relief money, because you feel that that's already been. Because that was that was a hesitation that we had. I mean, another hesitation, but so you just feel that's already been arbitrated, and we don't need to worry about saying that this happened because of COVID, because
Exactly.
we kind of got hung up on that.
And I apologize that we weren't here to have that conversation, because I had that conversation with Steve Levy, and this whole thing has already been vetted by the state. They signed off, all their agencies signed off on this. They don't just make these decisions and throw money around.
They came out with regulations on these ARPA funds, trying to further declare what they could be used for in 2022, because the funds go away December of 2024. So if it's not used, it's not used.
I just have another question.
Sure.
So the ARPA buyout that you've been offered, is that
It's going to be based upon
fairly
the price of-
generous
No,
then.
it's-
So is it market value?
No, it is. It's going to be market value.
Market
before
value
anything-
is if there wasn't an issue with the garage or the river.
Oh,
Right.
so that's actually a very good, probably a better price than you would get if you put it on Zillow or
That's
something.
And who's responsible for tearing down the?
The state would do that. And we could get Steve down and we could talk collectively. I know some of you folks have been. I've had that conversation. They'll pay to take the garage down. They'll pay to take the house down. They'll make it, an empty lot. And then basically the town owns it. And then
The agreement we have with them said they would tell us what we could take and what we couldn't take. And I mean, not that we have no desire to go in there and take a refrigerator or a stove or I don't know why they would want that, but they said there were specifications that they would tell us what we could take, I mean, other than our own personal.
It's already happening in Chester, same river downstream, but it's still a little bit larger because this river dumps into it below. But they're taking 2 houses down there. They've already took 1 house, and they say they can't do anything about the river. They're gonna take the house out, 2 of them, and the other red house that got wiped out, FEMA bought that one, and they wound up selling that to the town of Chester. And it's just an empty lot right across from the motel. But there used to be a house there, if you remember that. But the other 2, the brown one, they're taking that one and they're going to take Jeremy Orchard's house. And because they just can't, it's out of control. They can't do anything about the river. And can you imagine what the state has to do is if God comes along and takes some more of that beautiful garage you have and it falls and gets jammed up underneath that bridge.
Right.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And then can you imagine what's going to happen to that road? If that garage falls off, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but if it slides in, it's going to get jammed underneath that bridge. And then it's going to be you want to talk about a mess.
I'm just thinking that because we've had these 300-year storms in such a short period of time, that the state would be in a different mindset than they were 10 years ago of being proactive and doing something. And at the end of the day, certainly if the land is owned by the town, it's going to be easier for them to do what they need to do to protect Bridge 41 and everything else that's there.
Does the state give you a time frame in which they would take the buildings down and convert it back to a? Is it something
we would want to get
that
them
they'd
involved.
sit there for 10 years?
No. This is something that would be
2 years or.
This is something that would be done right away, and we've been working on this before the last storm, and these monies are going to go away, so they have to do it.
I understand they need the
Sure
money,
work.
but they also have to take the buildings down in that time
Right.
frame as well and convert it back.
Before
to-
December, they have to take.
I don't know. I can't
I
speak.
think the money just needs to be allocated.
Right.
And
So
they-
how do they have a time frame? What I'm asking is, do they have a time frame in which they have to take the buildings down, or would it be something?
Originally, when we were talking to them last fall and they were getting all their sign-offs at the state level, they had told us to plan on moving in May, and because then the house was coming down. So I think they were talking pretty quickly, but the whole process, even at the state level, was slowed down a little bit. But it never got to you until May. But they had told us to plan on being ready to pack up and move everything.
We got a question or comment. Sorry.
Yeah, when I believe after Irene Gordon's house was bought out, I would say time frame was like between 60 days. It was done.
Yeah, it was. It was very quick.
It didn't take
I just wondered if that was it.
And that land on the other side of Irene's, all the way up to Tim Hills, is mine, and I've lost quite a bit of my property also.
Yeah.
So, and watching his garage go under,
Right.
as like Hank says, if that undermines enough and slips, that bridge is history.
And then Well, it makes perfect sense if they would give you fair market value prior to this, that you wouldn't want to put it on the market to sell it because you're not going to be able to get what you would get for fair market prior to.
And the other thing is, not that it's an option, but if you were to try to say, okay, we'll take the garage down, try to sell it without a small, the whole driveway is going to be an issue. That would all have to be rerouted. And
I think somebody would buy it just because of the market right now, but you wouldn't get the same amount of money. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that. You wouldn't get what
we paid for it. Like I said, that we're being offered less than we paid for it, and I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of hours.
But you haven't put it on the market, so you don't know what you're just. That's at one person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to put it on the market, you might get more than.
Right. Well, somebody Jeff obviously is in the business, and he can armor up part of that river a lot less than we could, but that's still not a long-term solution, to what's going on there. And it's it's just crazy to think that we all have an opportunity to make a difference, in the future of that roadway and that bridge, and by being proactive. And I wanted you, obviously we want your support, but we also wanted you to be informed. And certainly some of these questions, we can get Steve obviously here, and you can talk timelines, but they're ready. They're ready to go. They're ready to move this thing forward.
How much land is there?
Pardon me?
How much land do you have?
Well, it's a 2-acre lot.
It's a 2-acre lot.
But most of it is hill, and we've probably lost a quarter of an acre already. So
yeah, you've lost a lot. It's sad. Anyone that's driven by has watched this happen over the years.
And it was scary, like I said today. If you could look underneath that power pole.
Right.
So if that power pole goes.
So we just wanted to get in sync with you and answer any questions of who we are. We're not just out of staters here for some free ride on anything. My whole family, generations are Vermonters. So we live in Massachusetts, but this is our happy place. So it's been disappointing over the years. Tried to pull a lot of levers to motivate agencies to do what really needs to be done, and it hasn't happened. So we'd like to get your support and move this forward. And certainly, if there's more questions that are unanswered, Chris, you're already in touch. Have you reached out to Steve Libby in terms of?
I have not talked to him.
Okay, because right now they're on a little bit of a pause, but they really need to hear from you to put this, not have this go away. And if we need to pause on the ultimate decisions for another 60 days and have everybody talk some more, if you don't feel comfortable with it, but again, this whole thing's already been vetted. So it's not like you're signing off on something could come back to haunt you.
Are there other? I don't live in that part of town, and I don't drive it often enough to be super aware of it. I'm super aware of my question. I don't know the answer to my question. Is what I mean. I'm very aware of that part of town. But are there other buildings and houses along nearby that? I know Gordon's got what I know about that, but are there other houses that are almost in as much danger as yours?
Possibly the house across the street. We've not.
Well, if the river breaches ours, it's going to be there. But right now,
are you kind of an anomaly along that stretch? Or
we're on the outside bend of the river. Mm-hmm. So the river naturally wants to go at our property because we're on the outside bend. Mm-hmm. Across the street is on the inside bend. So, they're not in jeopardy. They're only going to be in jeopardy when it breaches the garage and it breaches the bridge. It's going to go straight through their house.
Yeah. So this is a problem for a lot of a lot of us,
Right,
obviously. I've been watching in Chester for years as I drive by there, opposite the Stone Hearth.
And my understanding too, I don't know, Jeanette, you probably know a little bit more about this than I do, but in talking to Steve, that the town gets some type of monies out of this too, of helping to administer it and, whatever was entailed in that. But again, Steve would be able to speak better about it. And we're just looking to not have this go away and get your support and quite frankly, get on board with some higher level B-Trans folks and have a joint site visit and see how this can be a better win for everybody.
But to the best of your knowledge, there's no other nearby homeowners who are in the process that you're in, really?
Not to my knowledge.
I would be interested in a site visit with V-Trans because from what I've heard in other committees and meetings is that garage would come down and they would do nothing to that river. The state is not moving forward on putting anything on river banks, dredging any rivers or any other terminology you want to use for it because myself and Chris sat in this room and talked to people from the state of Vermont. They won't do it. And they won't. They won't do it. They won't.
That's why we are where we are.
No, but I want to hear from them directly and hear that they're going to tear your garage down hypothetically if everything went through. But they're also going to drop that machine down there. They're going to build that river up so it doesn't take out that bridge.
Right.
Because that's my concern. My concern is they just take the buildings down and drive away. And wait for the next flood, and we'll figure it out then. I think that's.
Right. So you're saying Steve Libby, the state, you want the state to go in there because V-Trans is not going to.
No, like Chris was just about to say, I think would like to hear from some higher ups that actually this problem is going to be, like you said, proactively solved, not just wait until the next time. And I don't feel, unfortunately, from what I've sat and listened to and heard, it doesn't sound like they're going to be proactive about this. And that is my perspective from what I've heard.
They said, tell us they build us another bridge.
Well, I think we have a connection right now with Steve Libby being at that higher level, and he's working with these other agencies at a high level that we could, request a meeting there, not just from the regional folks, but from headquarters. Say, hey, let's look at this and apply some common sense to what the heck's going on here. Yep. 15 years ago, I met with Todd Manise, the river engineer, and he said the same thing. And I said, Todd, what would you do if you were me and you own this house right now? He said, you can go in the river and whatever you can pick up for stones by hand, throw it against the riverbank, and it's not going to be a problem in your lifetime. That's what he told me then. Because, he said the only solution is to do a riprap wall coming around, and it's going to be all kind of crazy money that it's not in our budget for sure. And then I talked to his predecessor, and it just seems like the local guys are just, they're not pushing this up to headquarters. And I think we need to collectively get together and request that and have that common sense conversation. And what is going to be the plan when this gets compromised? And what are they going to do right now with that power pole that is all getting undermined right now? And that's why you're welcome to go up there and look at it. I walked down the river this morning. I took some pictures, and I'll show you after. But it's going right under. A guide wire's already in the river.
Can you request that Green Mountain Power, I think that's Green Mountain Power, come out and take a look at it?
I can. I've done that before in the past. And
they just moved that pole coincidentally
not too long ago
as part of the whole redecking of the bridge. They had to move it, and we had to agree to it, and there was paperwork galore.
Yep.
So that was just moved there.
A safer spot.
Yeah,
but
safer spot.
They should come out and take a look.
They could fix it for you. You just have to let them know about it. You could squeak. You've been in downtown Chester. You know where the Jiffy Mart used to be?
Mm-hmm.
You see that pole that sits right where those roads all come together?
Yeah.
It looks like the pole's from 1955. And every wire from every road is hooked to that pole. And I screamed to him, why don't you put some bridges, some cement blocks around it or something? Somebody bumps that out, it's gonna. You can't imagine. You can't even begin to count the wires that are hooked to that pole. And it looks like it was put there in 1955. It's like this. And it's right there right in front of where the Jiffy Mart used to be. He'll scare you to death. So look at that. And that's a tragedy just waiting to happen. I pointed it out to him, but still sits there. But you can go down and Squawk, and they got the stuff they can fix that. But all the new poles they're putting down Route 11 down through there.
I understand that's not your goal. Your goal is really to get the house bought out.
Right.
I mean, that's the goal.
We've been fighting this fight for a long time.
You're watching it all fall apart in front of you. And
they don't want to cash out because they have no choice.
Right.
You know,
Because if you went in there, the house is so us. You know what I mean? I have Polish heritage and I have Polish wood carvings all up on the wall. And I mean, it's just, we made it into us, you know, between that and my moose and that I have in there. And it breaks my heart. But no matter how much we've asked and asked and asked, no state agency is doing anything. And this is the best solution that's been presented.
You have to haul it. This road, go down and hit Route 11. I don't know, probably, I've been in that house since 1977. I'll bet you that pole's been wiped out at least 5 times. It was down Route 11, right where this road comes to it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody not stop, go through and hit that pole and take it out and screws everything up. That happened 4 or 5, at least 5 times since I've been in that house. Finally, they moved the pole 20 feet to one side. After it's been wiped out from the same, don't move it. Put it right in the same spot. And the car doesn't stop, pow, right into that pole. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you have to talk to these people that think they're so smart. Explain it to them. Jesus. Why don't you just move the pole a little bit instead of just putting a new one?
I don't think that's what that's not their goal, which I understand. I mean, they wouldn't go out and look at it. They have to. So, is this something that I'm asking the board now? That is this something that any of you feel we should take another look at? That we should look into more in depth? And what are your thoughts? What's everyone's thoughts here?
What do we think that having a site visit with some outside person would be? It could be interesting, but it's not really to the point of what they're asking us.
It's not to the point of what they're asking.
Because what you require to have it be a done deal is the sheet of paper from us. I mean, that's if you get right down to the brass tacks.
Yeah,
you're looking for a sheet of paper that we didn't sign at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and in our thought, or my thought is that someone would buy that house and that you could put it on the market and someone would buy it. Because they'd look at it and say, well, but I do understand that if you're getting fair market value prior to, why would you want to go down that avenue compared to?
The board was concerned watching a home somebody could live in go into a dumpster with a housing crisis is what we're in, and that was talked about. So just so you know,
and that it was COVID funding as opposed to.
Well, it is a double wide.
Yeah.
Pick it up and
I don't.
But the state is that would not be
right. They wouldn't
allow that.
I'm also not completely clear about what. Okay, so if the house were removed, it was a buyout, then the town would just own the property forever. Nobody could ever build on it again.
It becomes green space.
Yeah.
So we would watch down the river.
Yeah.
That's just what we would do. We would watch it wash down the river, but we wouldn't pay taxes on it either because
we
own it.
We wouldn't be getting taxes on it.
Correct. It would also lower the grand list slightly.
Right.
Because there wouldn't be any.
But we have to get clarification too of what the state. No, the state was like saying they were going to do something for the town for taking care of the property.
Or to make up for the tax revenue.
I don't know that,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what.
Some of them in places you see turn into where they mow them. They the town keeps them mowed like grass, but I don't think that would be a.
Right.
Right.
Can't speak that it would be, but I don't think it would be a
Right.
option there.
We're not going to send our guys down to fill that spot.
But I
Right,
read
Charlie?
through and it gets turned to green space. It can never be anything but a town park, is what it
Right.
pretty much states.
Yeah.
That's what it could be.
Hearings.
Yeah, correct. It's an open lot.
And the state would be in a better spot to do something to the river when the next 100-year storm comes.
Is there a stipulation that you can't
They already
put it
made it
on the
look
market?
up their mind.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've
But
been.
you can't.
Yeah.
If the state, if this goes through, it can't be used for anything else.
So the stipulation is you can't put it on the market first and then go.
Oh, no, we
Doesn't
can,
sell.
but we would be foolish because we'd be getting pennies to the dollar. We're gonna be made whole before anything ever happened, so why?
But if you went to a couple of real estate agents and like, oh yeah, no, there are people out here that want that at X amount of dollars. Does
I've
it
already had
cease-
one offer from somebody that owns a lot of real estate in the area.
Well, that's not the guy that's going to give you the best money.
No, and right.
Right, but I mean, even at that, even if someone gave us 20 or 30,000 more, it's still like a $50,000 overall loss.
But you've never invited a real estate agent to come and give you an idea of what it might be worth on their
No.
market.
And you have no desire to do that.
I'm not a real estate expert. That can be done pretty quickly in the sense of just get a market value analysis on it, or then you have to go
I
to
don't
the
know.
selling price.
I'm just asking.
At this point, my concern is that, we have this door that is opened, and it's only going to be open for so long. And this process keeps getting dragged out and dragged out. We're going to miss that window. But then on the other side of it is that that's all speculation then. We list it with a realtor, we go for months, and then we find out that we're at a dead end here, just because of the geographics of what's going on, or what happens if another storm happens in 3 weeks from now,
My concern is that we're opening the door to other properties that would want to do the same, and we could lose. We could have other properties that want us to buy them out.
Well, that's why
We
I
gotta-
wondered what
Yeah.
the
Just gotta hand
We don't know of any,
Yeah.
but
1 sec. We got somebody in the back.
Joe sells it to another person, the problem is still gonna be there. And then they're gonna come back and try to do the same process. So you're not gonna gain anything. Somebody else is gonna get the problem. And who wants that problem?
That's why they bought those two houses down in Chester. And it's gonna go off the grand list.
I guess
It's
that's
gone forever.
What are your thoughts?
I'd like to hear more from the state, just because maybe as it moves forward, it'd be easier to say the town would be interested in moving forward if you actually did something with that river bank.
So then would you?
No, that's just like pretty much repeating myself. Sorry, but I'm just concerned that they're just going to tear it all down, throw down some grass seed and some hay, and they're going to put the equipment back on the trailer and drive away. Because I'm pretty certain that's what's going to happen. They're not going to fix anything. Speaking of the river, and are they going to prioritize the town green space, or are they going to go somewhere else where there's another house in jeopardy possible from the next flood?
The state's not going to do anything. Just more than 25 feet off the road.
Yeah, that's what. They don't put machines in the water, and that's where it has to be to fix that problem. Then I'm not.
I don't think
not a contractor of that kind.
Means,
But
do I think the state's going to come in and do a whole?
I don't think the state's going to do anything.
actually
My
did
question
they
is
they
more
did
along-
have a bucket loader. They had something in there after last July's
It's not going to do any
storm.
good if we have another event.
that was a Band-Aid. That's what I got.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have no other options.
Yep.
We're looking for your help.
I think it might be hard to come up with a final decision right now, but I don't know what other people think.
What is everyone else thinking at the table? I mean, I understand their plight. I understand that.
Do you think that we should just vote and do it, or should
I don't
we
know. I
wait?
want to hear from everyone else. and
What do you think,
everyone else
Chris?
is thinking.
I think they got a lot of options.
You think what?
I don't think they have a lot of options.
No, I don't either.
No, I don't think they have options at all. I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry. But
Talk to Steve Libby and see if we can get the language changed when we're signing.
Yeah, because that was our concern.
That was a huge holdup. It was
right.
The
Because
language the way it was written out. Nobody
the
felt
language of
comfortable with
it
that.
for us, and I think you probably heard it. The language, and I can't give it to you right now off the top of my head, but the language sort of, it kind of put us somehow in a place where we were testifying and signing to the fact that it had to do with COVID. Right, that your plight had to do with COVID. I'm correct, right?
The language read
so the
very.
legalese of it was that we, as a select board and the town of Andover, were testifying and signing a legal document saying that your problem and the money going to you was specifically around COVID. And so that all of us were a little bit terrified by that because as the select board and the town, if we sign something like that, and then for any reason, somebody wants to check us for that, or if the state changes rules suddenly, or if any number of human beings want to say, well, wait a minute, the river's the problem, and regardless of what the state of Vermont says, the river's the problem. It wasn't having anything to do with COVID. It had nothing to do with us not wanting you to have that money, but it had to do with us saying, well, holy smoke, we can't really, any of us stand up and say literally that river's out of its bounds because of COVID. So maybe what you're saying is if we could get them to do some type of a waiver around that language or change that language so that we're maybe we could sign something that said, hey, we understand this is money that was originally for COVID, but the state says that now this money can be used for these things. We'll sign to that. You know, it wasn't about not getting you help. It was about us saying, well, we can't legally cover ourselves here. I mean,
well, here's the deal. You're not the only ones that are doing this. There's been many of these buyouts that have already happened the same way.
I know.
And everybody's signing off on it because it's like, hey, this has already been vetted.
I know.
But I don't have any problem with you folks asking that question. I mean, I'm not the expert
I think that's just the question that we had. That was the fear around that, was the idea, because there's so much, you know, especially today, and I know that everyone sitting here knows this, but all of the towns, for all different reasons, are having to be really careful about how things are worded and what we're signing and what we're saying that we're going to do, because people get some funny ideas around what's possible after we all state that. So maybe I move that Chris, you have a conversation with someone around what are we signing? Like, in other words, what are we saying? And can they add something to that sheet of paper that says, you know, that the state is saying this is not COVID related and we understand it. In other words, that we're not saying, because the way that the paperwork was, it was tricky.
Can we go to the next meeting and get Steve Libby down here, and then he can answer all these questions? You know, I mean, by all means, something beforehand, but I mean, you know, that way it's transparent to everybody, and everybody may have different questions and feelings and emotions, and you know, if the guy's here and he's answering these questions,
that's fine.
When he answers them to me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know,
well, this isn't about us feeling a certain way, because our feeling, my emotion was, let's just sign this thing and let these people get the help they need. But the logic of it was reading it. What am I signing? What am I legally signing my name to? And what I was legally, and all of us discussed it, we were all signing our name to something that said, this money is being used because of COVID, period.
And not to go on and clarify that it can be used for
it didn't say that. It was very specifically that you as a town select board are okaying the ARPA money that's for COVID, around COVID, for this. But it didn't say what this was. It just said it was about COVID.
It didn't say what this was. It said they were constructing some kind of device for clean water.
Right.
They weren't constructing anything.
No, it wasn't. It didn't say anything about what it was really going to be doing. And we were, all of us, looking at it and going, this doesn't seem very stable.
Like, we were the ones that were making the check on it.
Yeah.
We were checking, saying,
yes, this is the truth about this.
This is what it is. It would be interesting to have him come down.
I think
it'd be great if he would be willing to come.
Because I thought these questions were already answered because
He was,
Steve
like,
has been in
basically
contact
saying-
with folks here, and I would have thought that those conversations would have been already going on in the background, and that's why we weren't here a month ago. That's probably why we are where we are right now. But I thought those conversations were already had with the person that knows the answers.
What is I know the money has to be allocated by the end of the year, but what is your particular offer? How long does it go until you lose it or get it?
I
Did
don't,
they say you have to give it? You
I
have to
don't
get the
know.
select board to approve by
I don't know.
August
They
1st?
basically had it as being withdrawn, and we're like, no, can you hold off? Don't put it in as withdrawn.
Pending.
So it says pending withdrawal. I don't know how long it can sit pending withdrawal before you
that
say,
something-
no, it's not going to be withdrawn. It's going to be approved.
It's not going to be withdrawn in the next 2 weeks. Or,
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, they're not gonna, this is an act of God. This is what this is an act of God.
Yeah,
Did
I
this.
agree.
COVID has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing to do with it. Maybe, did you approach your insurance company? What can they do for you about it?
No, because it's
It's a flood.
Because it's an act of God.
right. But the
So what are you gonna do?
But part of ARPA does allow some of the funds to be used for other purposes, meaning
A lot of
things that
other
are,
purposes.
bettering the public good. So I think the idea is it's bettering public good because that bridge is not going to get taken out. The garage is not going to end up in the water. So you might say it's a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, they got it there. Because they're saying it is for a public good that bridge isn't not.
We understand that, but that is not the language in this piece of paper we had.
So
There's a
that we
disconnect.
right, so that we can put
Yeah,
not an end to the conversation,
yeah.
but so that we can have a plan in place. Could we invite, is it Steve Libby that we would invite?
Yes.
Can we invite him down to,
At least have a conversation.
have a
with him,
conversation with him and then go from there?
Yeah.
Just so that we're going around circles.
Yes.
Right. And we
Yeah.
keep saying the same things. And I think we all are very aware of what would help you.
Right.
And
we don't
what
wanna not
avenue
help
you're
you, I
trying to go. And I think you're aware of where we're coming from.
Yeah. And
So,
we can
let's
check
make it-
with them to
let's just
see
do
if it's
that.
possible to get him here on the 8th. And if not, I guess you have them every 2 weeks, so it would then be.
Yeah, or do you want to speak? What would you prefer to do,
The
Chris?
second and fourth
I'll talk
Monday.
to him. Yeah.
You'll talk to
If you
him.
wanna-
It's once in a while. It's got a 3-week break, but yeah,
And-
we can only discuss the stuff right here, though.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we can get an email you want to send, but when we want to discuss, we have
We
to
can't
wait till our
discuss
meeting.
anything.
Right.
So
So do you want to send, do you want to send a joint email and CC us, or you want me to call them and reach you, or you want
I can send him an email and CC you.
to do that?
yes.
And then we'll go from
Thank you.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in that though, somebody's got to chime in to ensure that this stays on pending status. And I think you're already going to see that we're talking about it together to work towards,
That we need more understanding.
right.
Of what
So
it
we
is we're
need
signing.
somebody,
Right.
select board or in that email, you've got to request that from them that
Right.
we want the status to stay pending.
Yeah.
For whatever, 90 days or,
Right.
but I'll initiate the email and to everyone, and then if you could, chime in on that, that would be great.
And you understand we can't email you back because it would
Right,
constitute it.
the public.
Oh, okay.
It has to be in a public
Okay.
forum. You can email us, send
Right,
a
and
letter,
then
send
Chris
it
can
to
do-
Chris, but we can't communicate
Okay.
back and forth as a group
Okay, appreciate it.
because we have to be
Right.
in front of the.
We can't confer
Public,
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We're not allowed at all,
Right.
which is
And-
very frustrating often, but we can't.
And we'll keep this on the agenda for
We
next
will.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it'll be on the
I
agenda.
appreciate that
Yeah,
very much.
thank you.
Right. Back up and set the municipal tax rate.
Well, one question: does Zoom work? I didn't see on the last for this meeting. It didn't have the thing at the bottom
We
that says
don't
you can
have
zoom in.
a regularly scheduled Zoom link. If
Oh,
you would
okay.
like one, the new change to the open meeting law says that you have to request in writing 2 weeks in advance, and I will set up a Zoom link.
Okay.
Otherwise, we don't regularly have
So
it.
I want to see what his agenda, what his schedule is, and make sure that he can be here, or if he can't be here, then he can Zoom
Right,
in.
we can set up a Zoom link if that's an easier way for him
just so we
to
can
join
keep
in.
things moving.
Why don't we just have one? I'll make a motion if I have to have a Zoom link for that meeting, so that if that's the only way. So
Oh, absolutely.
I would like
I can
to.
set it up for him.
Yeah,
That's what-
Okay.
that would.
All right.
That way that meeting will have
I'll
one
second
for
that.
anybody that wants to. Because I know getting here at that time is not always easy for
And you
everybody.
seconded that?
Yeah,
I seconded it.
let's just have a Zoom link for that meeting.
Okay, aye.
Okay, no subcommittee of some tax rate.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So
Good luck on your journey.
Thanks.
Looking
Yeah,
forward to
stop by.
hanging out with you.
Yes.
Especially if you sell or move on, you'll have a place to stay locally.
Okay.
So to reach the budget is 61 cents. Right? That's the
The spreadsheet speaks for itself.
exactly. Yeah, it's like it can't be any less than that because we're
The amount the voters approved to be raised by municipal taxes, and the current 58 cents doesn't get there, and 59 cents doesn't get there, and 60 cents doesn't get there. 61 cents gets there. Definitely.
and that's just the math of it.
Given what the grand list total is.
Right.
I'm just curious. I'm pretty new to this whole process because I've only been on the select board a couple of years. But I remember when we set the municipal tax rate last time. We were extremely conservative because we wanted to set it enough, but we didn't want to do it a millionth of a millimeter higher. So, but looking back at it, should we have gone up a little bit, or did we do good? Is that what we just should always do? Is exactly what we need?
Typically, over time,
Well,
it's been set pretty much as close as you
Yeah.
need. You can't underfund, so
Yeah.
it always has to be at least what was approved
Right.
or over.
Mhm.
I feel like we looked at even half pennies last year.
Yeah.
We went to that full penny.
because we were so afraid of the year before from inflation just blowing that budget rate just completely out of proportion with
So
11%
Yeah.
cost of
the
increase.
budget last
It's
year
terrifying.
we raised was $919,000, and let me look at last year's spreadsheet. So last year you needed to raise $919,000, and you approved a 58-cent rate because a 57-cent rate would have only given us $911,000. So you went to 58 because that got us to $927,000. So that was a little bit over, but you can't again underfund the budget. But if you look at your budget spreadsheet in front of you, between the municipal payments plus interest on late payments, you've raised over $941,000. So we made the number and then some because people always pay late.
Right. I mean, my instinct is to just barely shave it as close downwards as we possibly can.
And that's 61 cents.
Yeah.
That's-
So this is not really a conversation.
No, but it's a motion.
uh,
And a vote. If you please.
make a motion to set the tax rate at 61 cents.
Second.
Who's in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, everyone.
We can't.
3 cents per hundred isn't huge.
Right.
If you do the math.
Right, and you did the
And
math
it's
for us.
what was approved at town meeting. It was the amount of
And thank
money
you
that
for
was
doing the
approved.
math for us, because it makes it.
Yeah. Child care contribution tax.
Oh, so, one of the many things passed by the legislature this year to increase taxes is the child care contribution tax. And that goes into effect next week on July 1st. And it is, I don't know exactly what it will fund, but it is being passed on to every employer in the state. And an employer can choose to pay the full 0.44% of each employee's gross wages, or an employer can choose to do 0.33% and pass the other 0.11% on to the employees. I don't know what private businesses are doing. I know on the town clerk and treasurer listserv that most municipalities were willing to take the full 0.44% on so as not to burden town employees with the 0.11%. And I did the math for you for that as well. So it's a couple $100 a year.
Right. Well, I would make a motion to do the 0.44%. Because it's just pennies.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And local hazard management plan adoption.
The local hazard mitigation plan.
So I reached out to her because I was a little unclear. I had been on vacation, and then I was the one that asked, could I have a little bit more time to look at it? And I asked her what the significant changes were between last year or when it was written last and then when it was written this time. And she said there really aren't any, although, Chris, you had asked to add a culvert to it that we'll be seeing. Does anyone know that? There was a culvert that needed to be added to the...
Davis Road, I think.
Right. But other than that, there weren't any really significant changes. I had asked, can't remember.
Other than
Cindy.
pages of FEMA,
Yeah.
things that FEMA now wants to see in those.
Wants to see in those.
Yeah.
So
Cindy, you were looking for her name.
Yes, thank you. I had asked her to highlight the changes, but she said there really weren't any.
You're saying from the previous plan to the next one?
To this plan. One of the things that kind of made me go, oh, wait, I need to know more about this, and I still don't know more about it, is that, and maybe somebody can clarify this, the whole 50 feet off the water thing and not being able to build, what was that? About having, was it 50 feet or that, something off the river, so there's X amount of land that you can't.
I don't know if it's that you can't, it's something that the state has talked about, like finding and putting a map where, but maybe that also comes into that. I forget one meeting we had that conversation with, that could be what falls into flood insurance someday too.
I think it was just to bring an awareness.
Yeah,
awareness.
It was no rule.
It was not something that's getting put in. And right, that was my concern, is that we're not going to see people that currently have places next to the river going, wait a minute, I can't do anything here. I'm now strapped and not. I mean. That plan though doesn't implement that. That would be a state reg, right?
Separate plan.
In a lot of ways, it's just like the town plan. It's a vision of what an ideal situation would look like, but it isn't the rules or regulations to be enforced.
And that's what I was concerned with.
This is just these are the best case scenario. Here are things we can do to mitigate. Here are things we have to write down that we are at least trying, and things that we're trying to get better, so that the next time we need FEMA money, we will still be eligible for it.
Right. Okay.
It's a plan.
Thank you.
They want us the proactiveness. They want to know that there's proactive work going on, and
which is understandable. I do understand that part, which is the one thing where they said about the rivers, and I'm like,
and it's a big difference in reimbursement.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, huge.
So then, because I was the one that was asking all the questions and wasn't prepared to sign it right then and there, I make the motion that I am prepared to sign it. So
and I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town financial update.
Okay. I made budget spreadsheets that are there on the table for you. So this is where we are year to date, within 24th, 6 days of the end of our fiscal year. This is a spreadsheet of all the FEMA work that has been done. So it's every road, its current status as far as FEMA is concerned, how much money was applied for reimbursement for each road. So every week I meet with Hector and he gets me an update on where each project is. One of the things that I just did last week was, although we took $531,444 out of the general fund for flood-related expenses, we didn't, or there was nothing showing the amount of labor that the town paid for that was flood-related work. So I've gone back through, and that's what I've added in this column, is the labor. I did not account for payroll taxes, fringe benefits, anything like that, but just the straight hourly labor that each of these projects, my spreadsheets say that we spent. So what I've done is I've added a line in QuickBooks, and you won't see it here because I rolled it up into one total, but I'm subtracting that amount from what the town, it says the town spent. So if the town spent $100,000, I've now subtracted $19,000 from that because we've been reimbursed for $19,000 worth of labor, and there's more to come. We spent almost $40,000 in the guys' labor, so it ultimately makes what we've spent in this fiscal year for labor on the highway crew look better, or it is better, because we wouldn't have spent that much if it hadn't been for a flood the first day of the fiscal year, or the second week. And the other number that isn't in there yet, when all those projects have been pushed through the pipeline, then I do what's called a category Z, and that is all administrative time. So all of my time that I've spent doing this and the meetings with Hector and the time Chris spent out on the road measuring things, and Charlie spent out on the road getting me measurements, and us talking about the GPS coordinates of a stump somewhere on Middletown Road, and. So we get a portion of reimbursement for that. So that will show up more toward the end. And right now that stands, my spreadsheet says it's about $18,000, just that part. So that's mostly my time. So that also will help our overall labor numbers for this fiscal year. Although the fiscal year ends, as you may remember, I spend much of the summer weekly meeting with an accountant, and we go through and just check everything in our profit and loss statement and our liabilities and assets, and just make sure that the bookkeeping has been done and looks the way it should look. And so the end of the day totals, the end of the fiscal year totals will often change because we go, oh wait, maybe that shouldn't be that. This should be an expense for school related things that were sent to the state, kind of thing. We're in good shape. For the first time this year, we've got a positive figure at the bottom of the spreadsheet, which is really nice to see. So bills are paid. Yay.
Thank you, Jeanette.
So hard.
Wow.
Jeanette, you really have.
There's some kind of...
I own stock in Advil.
You might have to write a memoir about it.
I had to up the strength of my reading glasses.
We need to send Jeanette on an all expenses paid cruise or something.
Just dinner at the in between would be fun.
Wow.
I think that's everything. And I never heard another word from the bank about any kind of a loan, but if you look at this, I would say
Don't need one. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
It was close there.
Yeah, it was.
You don't understand, but it's class 3 roads reclassification.
Susan asked for that to be on the agenda to kind of.
Yeah. I've just been thinking about the list that we've been working off, and just kind of feeling like, well, it seems like the red top thing that came up today for me really crystallized that I think it's really hard for me anyway to just go look at roads one by one. Every single road we've looked at has been completely different, and lots of surprises everywhere. And and each one has needed its own solution. Yet, at the same time, just in terms of which roads we're going to prioritize looking at, I was just thinking that for me, like a yardstick of something would be a house with one road on it where the owner owns both sides. That just seems so much more clear cut than, say, looking at a road like Blanchard Road, which my family does have connections with it. So it's the only reason I'm so aware of it. It's just, anyway, I'm just saying that I think when it really is clearly a private driveway with one person and the same owner, that
I think part of that, though, it's not really about that.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot about the state if they wanted us to bring roads up to some standard.
Yeah,
so it's actually not just about looking to find people who are in some. It's really about all the different roads and can we maintain them at a level cost-wise and everything else, and should we be maintaining them?
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many different parts to it. Like you said, they're all different. So I don't think there's a yardstick to be had, really.
Every one of them's going to be different.
Right. I know that bothers you.
Yeah, I just feel like how do we be fair about this?
Well, I think that is being fair, though.
Every road is different.
Every road is different.
Are you
indeed
concerned in the order in which we're looking?
Yeah,
at
that's
them?
kind of what concerns me. Is like the list that I have. It seems some of it just seems kind of arbitrary. Like, I guess
it was just that was a rough draft list.
Yeah,
that was just a list that was put together.
And what is our next road? We haven't even picked the next road. I guess we have Charlie right here.
No, but
you a bad idea to put him on the hot seat. Pardon me?
I
Right.
don't even know without looking at that list. What's that?
Old Boynton / Finn Hill. Was that next?
Yeah, so that probably was.
He just had put that list.
We're going to be all for.
And so your choice, and maybe this would help Susan, your choice in throwing that road being the next one on our list, because we're kind of asking you what would you want to look at next or what would you like us to look at next. Your choice in that being the road would be because?
Right, what she just said, what Susan said, they own the property on all sides. They don't like anybody going down there. They put up no trespassing signs to keep people out.
So Charlie is being cognizant of what I guess is the point.
He is our yardstick.
He is our yardstick.
I don't always know though who owns
Until you get there.
Yeah.
Right.
But Charlie is kind of the yardstick of, okay, because he knows how hard is it for us to care for this road, what's going on there generally, how much upkeep is there, and then what are the circumstances, and then we show up and get the details.
Yeah,
Right.
and as at Christmas Tree Road, we see very clearly that this is a road we need to provide.
Went up there with one aspect and came
Right,
back with a different one.
right.
That's
Really
why you go. That's why you go to the site.
And that's the wonderful thing about what we're doing. in the
It's
process.
really
It's
fair then.
Yeah.
It's actually the way we're doing it is the most fair way to do it.
Right.
So you can't have the yardstick that you want. It doesn't exist.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. But there are many other roads in town that could be on this list that I might.
That may be eventually.
Yeah.
Right. And you could probably add them
Well,
all of us have the capability of
like beyond Collie Road, for instance. I just noticed it wasn't on there, and then I noticed other roads that have 4 or 5 owners, and I'm just like wondering.
It started with like the one house.
The single dwelling, the driveways. We called them the private driveways that get plowed by the town.
Right.
And it was just that was the way it was to start.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that.
And if you don't like one, absolutely say.
Yeah,
like you feel like that one doesn't.
You feel like one shouldn't be there, or
I'm happy to go on the site visits. It's really.
If we planned another one though.
It is, and it's interesting.
If you planned another site visit tonight, it can't happen for a month though.
Right.
So it has to
we
be.
should talk about where we want to go.
What was it that we wanted?
Old Boynton.
Old Boynton.
Old Boynton and Finn Hill are 2 different roads, but same. Is that?
I don't think Finn, just because that's a nice escape from Boynton if it gets bad.
Okay.
But definitely Finn should be looked at.
Okay, so leave Old Boynton. So you're talking Finn Hill.
Yeah.
Do you want to do Finn Hill and look at Biancanello?
Yeah, we can certainly look at that.
those are pretty close by.
All right.
They're not too
Let's
far.
add those to the next.
So that would be in 2 meetings, right?
Do we need to make a motion to do that?
Yeah. With the date.
Go ahead, Richard.
No, I'm trying to find the date for you.
Wait, no,
How much
and
is July 22nd?
22nd.
July 22nd.
27th.
So we look at Biacanal Road and Pin Hill Road be reclassified on 22nd of July.
I second that.
And do we start at 5 o'clock again? Or do we not need that much? What time?
They could be on, stay around, talk too long, and get it done at 5:30.
Yeah, I think that works. Those two are a lot closer together.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you said 5:30?
Yeah.
Which one are we going to first?
You tell me which one comes first.
Yeah. Right, that one's first.
can you spell that for me?
Nope.
VIANCANIELLO.
And I'm sure that at one point we were in a spelling bee together, and I'm sure I lousily failed quickly, and you probably did really well to that. 3rd grade spelling bees. Miss Herrick's class.
All right.
Okay. Road Commissioners report. I'm gonna let you do that, Charlie. Road Commissioners report.
Josh's truck should be, cabin chassis should be here any day.
Nice.
He said the 21st. It didn't show up, but it's en route. So we've been anticipating that, and then hopefully get it up to get the volume put on shortly thereafter.
And you have a price on a plow?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention at the end. Finally got, I talked to Chris this morning. I didn't have it, and he left, and I got an email from Jeff Slade about a plow for the loader. So when, not if, a truck goes down this winter, we have some sort of backup plan.
That's a really
Or
good
these
idea.
big storms we're getting.
14, did you see it?
Small truck and put there on the loader to take care of some of these.
It's 14,000. Is that pretty quick to change over from plow to bucket?
Oh, yeah.
It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's built, that plow there that he sent the quote for is built by Cat 4 loader.
Yeah.
So it's literally push the button,
And go. Yeah.
uncouple from your bucket or whatever you have, couple into it, hook it up. You have to manually hook your hoses up, but they're pretty quick too.
Yeah. So the grader is the backup, the grader is aged, and the grader is slow and very uncomfortable.
Well, just to get rid of your snow, I mean, the plow
Yeah.
is like 16 inches high and it's under the middle of the thing, so your front tires are out in the snow. They used to plow with it all the time and they made it work, but it's a nuisance and it's tired, and we definitely don't want that oldest piece of equipment we have to go down.
Right.
You think you'd use Daryl using that more often on bigger storms rather than the small trucks?
Storm dependent.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely if we had it this year,
Yeah.
we would have parked this truck and gone after some of those relays.
12 foot will do it. Do they have those readily available, or you don't know?
It said a couple in Richmond.
Yeah.
So it's something we probably would pick up just to save the shipping cost. It's not totally far off.
Yeah.
But I don't think you mentioned shipping in there, so.
I don't see it.
Or I could call him and just get the specifics.
Do we need to make a motion on it?
Yes.
Absolutely. What's everybody's thoughts on?
I think it's something we were hoping with. Jeanette and I were talking briefly about it. It's like if we could sneak it in before the actual fiscal year, and you don't have another meeting until after. So if it's something we could make a decision on tonight.
We do have money in this budget, and or we could use the remaining. I think it can be used to the remaining ARPA funds if we want, or actually the capital equipment fund too if you want to go that way.
I move that we go ahead and purchase that.
I second it.
Who's in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Financial orders.
It's not 49,000, it's 14.
Right.
You know.
You can go ahead and start. Or no, Chris needs that one. Sorry.
Backside.
While we got a second, Charlie, you think be able to do, I don't know if you can hear me, be able to check out that sand before next meeting to talk about it, or you need more time than that?
Yeah, good.
Nice.
And are you will you be going to all the different pits to check out the sand, or just?
Most likely I won't go to the house there then.
Yeah.
Just because it's so far off. The rest are a little bit closer. But certainly
Or Sean brought sand.
yeah, I went over there right when we got back.
Maybe that's what they have to do. Bring your bid and bring a bucket.
Yeah, bring
Bring
us
the sand with you.
Yeah,
And guarantee it's the
same.
same.
There's a whole river down there.
Yeah, I would like clarification on that too.
He
That's
told me definitely wasn't enough sand there, and now he's saying the sand is there, so it's a little pulling.
It makes a huge difference when you're checking it from.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, no, for sure.
it's a huge difference in trucking. And does Hunter have some close by, or is it all?
I think it's right on the main road there.
Okay, yeah.
And could we ask him whether or not he gives us a bid with us trucking?
I think if you look at his bid, it said pick up in pit, whatever the cost was, $24.75, and then it said truck $24.75.
Because they have to have it in their truck to get it to the pit or to get it to here. I'm sure they're trucking it either way. Yeah.
Area to there, so
They're already
They're
putting the
saying
sand in their truck, so they're like, well, we could just bring it here. Yeah.
Delivered here, or we'll dump
That's
it
the way
here,
I-
and you come get it.
You come get
But they were you're correct, exact same price on both lines. Yep.
Yeah, usually they do better if you pick up because it takes the trucking out, but if they're already moving it,
Right.
it's just a matter, instead of dumping there, they just come here and dump it all.
And we do have the ability, because I forgot to ask you this, to have any load come in on anything. It wouldn't have to. One of the bids was.
All for the trailer.
Oh, yeah, that's
trailer
funny.
dump. Yeah, that's I thought so.
When we get towards the end of the pile, the trailer dumps are a little difficult because I built the road up back and actually have the dump trucks back up the sand pile, and the trailer dumps can't.
Yeah.
They just dump at the top. But it just takes a little longer.
Yeah.
We can certainly do it.
Correspondence, any of that?
Well, of course there is. It's been that kind of meeting. It's just kind of a couple of forms. One is from the Chester Snowmobile Club. They want to do a little maintenance work off of Boone Road. So they asked if they need a landowner permission form signed. So if you just want to chat about that and decide if that's okay with you guys. And then we got proposals for service contracts for the 2 generators we had put in with ARPA money last year. They just want to know if we want to pay $400 for each generator to do a couple of routine maintenance things in the course of the year. I don't know if we've ever done that I don't think we've done it for this generator.
It's the same contract, just one for each generator?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the identical. There's one for the garage and one for the town
Well, it
hall.
sort of seems like if they're coming to one location, it's just 2 generators. Shouldn't it be like a price?
You're right, I know.
Half
Maybe we
price
should
for
ask
the
them.
second generator?
So I mean, how do we decide? I mean, it seems like you should maintain your
You should
equipment.
ask the chairman what he thinks.
Oh, there you go.
Well, 100 plus of it's in the oil change. It's going to cost at least $100 to have somebody come change the oil in it, right?
Yeah, you haven't been changing.
Yeah.
Where's the other 3?
Yeah, exactly. And like Jeanette said, why wouldn't there be a little bit of a deal if you're on site and you could do what's potentially 3 at once, because there's another one over here.
Do you usually do the maintenance?
No, it's all new to us.
Yeah, they're all brand. I mean, this is the oldest one over here.
Yeah, when our two, or I say our two, the two newer ones got put in, I asked them, I said, you going to go through them with us? Oh, yeah, that's what we do last thing. And then they finished up and they left. They never walked through. I don't know how to change the clock on the thing. I mean, I can pull out the manual and I can go through it. But
Yeah, they should have a maintenance time too to kick on once a week for 30
They
minutes.
They do. They just
Okay.
ask us about when to set those.
Okay.
I think we stood over one of them in the snow trying to figure out how to turn something back
Yeah.
on, didn't we?
I mean, it seems a little pricey in my mind.
So who
800.
would, and it would be,
is that from?
Yeah, from HP.
So because this one is from a whole different company, I'm sure
Howard.
they wouldn't maintain this one
They
anyway.
won't touch it, yeah.
I'd be interested, and I can reach out. I've got a generator contractor that is in the area. See what they do for, as long as it's nothing to do with a warranty, which it doesn't state
No.
that in this. As
No.
long as it gets,
We didn't buy any
Yeah.
warranties or anything.
because I would assume one person come here and service all 3 generators for that price rather than this price for 2. But I'll be glad to reach out if everybody's up for that.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Everybody good to me sign in our permission form for
Yeah.
culvert?
oh, absolutely. That's a fun trail.
Oh, that one?
That one? Yeah.
Just hang on to those, I guess, in case I give a higher price. I guess.
Thank you.
I guess we'll adjourn and go into executive session.
Do we need to make a motion to do that?
Yes.
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss. What are we discussing about?
Employee pay rate.
Employee pay
for
rate.
the fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you.
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.